Hello, good morning and welcome to the online discussion on the future of travel and hospitality hosted by the British Bulgarian Business Association. We have over 120 registered participants today. About 60 of you have already logged in. Welcome. While we are waiting for the rest to take their time and log in, please take a few seconds to respond to the icebreaker questions you see on your screen. It will be curious to see the results during the session. And we will start at 11:05. Hopefully we'll have everybody on board by then. Thank you. Okay, it's already 11:05, so I suggest we go ahead and get started. If you're just logging in now, please take a few seconds to respond to the icebreaker questions you see on the screen, and we will see the results in a couple of minutes. My name is Desislava Miteva, and I'm the Executive Director of the British Bulgarian Business Association. It is my pleasure to be the facilitator of today's online discussion on the future of travel and hospitality. We are expecting about 100 people. We already have about 80 on the call, so looking forward to responding to your questions and giving you some tips for planning business and leisure in this very strange year, 2020. Can we go to the next slide? I would like to thank all our annual sponsors at BBBA who are supporting us throughout the year to be able to hold events online and offline. Special thanks to Deloitte, Athlon, Cleves, Landmark, Bulgarian Insurance, and Novotel Hotels and Resorts Sofia. Before we move into the two very interesting panels we have today, I would like to quickly run you through the webinar basics. Note that the chat will be disabled for the attendees. So if you want to ask a question, which we very much encourage you to do, is use the Q&A session, Q&A tab on your screen. Actually, we encouraged you to send us questions prior to the webinar, and they will be answered towards the end of the presentations. But still, if you have questions that you want to ask now, use the Q&A. Note that if there are too many questions and we are running out of time, some of the questions could be answered after the webinar from the people they were asked to. We will try to wrap up at about 12:15. We will have about an hour for the two panels and then about 15 minutes for questions. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our panel participants. We have a stellar panel today with 7 companies and 7 speakers that are really very experienced. Probably they have among themselves over 150 years of experience in the hospitality industry. Special thanks to our members, Novotel, BT Hotels Collection, Kempinski Hotel Grand Arena, Bansko, Jamadvice Travel, Umni, Ligna and Biodit for joining us today to share with us their expertise, their forecasts and their experience. And before we move to the introduction of the participants, I'm curious to see the results from the poll. Can we have a look? Okay. All our panelists are encouraged also to comment on the results. So roughly half of the people on the call today are members of the British Bulgarian Business Association and the other half are not. Those of you who are not members, we are very happy also to welcome you on board. And if you have questions or want to know more about what we do and how we can support your business, I will be happy to chat with you following the webinar. Now to the topic. Are you planning any trips in the next 3 months? Actually, I'm surprised to see that a quarter of the people are not planning any trips, but 75% are going to travel in the next 3 months. 52% of our participants are planning to travel in Bulgaria, and 48 are planning to travel abroad, so roughly 50-50. And very good news for our innovations panel. Almost 90% of the participants feel comfortable using digital solutions in hotels. I think it's really good news. Without further ado, I suggest we go to our first panel on travel and hospitality. Give me a couple of minutes to introduce our panelists. We have Diane Laskov, who is an experienced director of sales and marketing with demonstrated history of working in the hospitality industry for more than 13 years, 8 of them at Novotel Sofia. He has strong sales professional skills in negotiation, business planning, tour operations, and hospitality industry. He likes to play computer games and, of course, in his free time. And now he is on a journey to outplay the COVID-19 game. We are curious to see how. Maybe he has some tips for us in that direction as well. We also have Mark Thomas, who is the managing director of Jamadvice Travel. Who have had a presence on the Bulgarian market for 28 years. Mark is also one of the founding members of the British Bulgarian Business Association, and he used to be our vice chairman until a year ago. Jamadvice are also the network partner of BCD Travel, one of the world's big 3 travel management companies. The company specializes in corporate travel and meetings and events and has numerous multinational companies and organizations as well as local companies included in its portfolio of clients. We also have Adriana Angelova joining us today on the first panel. She studied tourism in the University of National and World Economy and started her career in the travel agency of youth tourism Orbita. The next 16 years of her life she spent with the Hilton Group. In Sofia, she was the department director of the sales department, and then she worked in Hilton Bucharest as at the Atheni Palace Hilton. After that, she decided to take a new challenge, and she is now with the team of BT Hotel Collection. This is a Bulgarian hotel chain which owns 7 venues. Hotel Rila in Borovets, International Hotel and Casino in Golden Sands, Grand Hotel Varna, a complex with 4 hotels, and St. Constantine and Elena and Arbanasi Palace. We also have Violeta Milusheva, who is a passionate sales and marketing person with over 15 years of experience in tourism and luxury hospitality. She started her career with Kempinski Hotel Zugravski in Sofia. Then she moved to Slovenia, again with the chain, to Kempinski Palace Portoros, and after 6 years living and working abroad, she was appointed area sales director and marketing for Kempinski Hotels in Bulgaria, and currently she is in charge of the only property of the brand in Bulgaria, Kempinski Grand Arena Bansko. She speaks English, French, Russian, and basic Slovenian. Violeta loves to travel, no surprise in that, and she likes exploring new and exciting destinations. She recently became a mom, and she cannot wait to introduce her daughter Mia to travel as well. I'm sure you will agree with me, we have a stellar panel, so let's give them a chance to share their experience with us. I would like first to start with giving the floor to Mark Thomas to set the scene a little bit and tell us about the role of airlines and airports in today's challenging times. Mark? Could you unmute yourself?
Sorry, but it wasn't unmuted. Sorry. Thank you, Desi. Connectivity is the foundation stone of tourism, and all types of tourism, be it business tourism, leisure tourism, needs that connectivity. For the past few months, that connectivity has been severed and severed considerably. Here in Bulgaria, we need that connectivity as a means of support. Air connectivity, land connectivity, Bulgaria needs connectivity, but the air connectivity is a vital element in that process. We must also remember as well that many people just think about the ski season, the mountains and the beaches for tourism. There's also a big sector out there which is business tourism, which is weekend break tourism, which benefits the capital Sofia more than anywhere else. But these are all elements of tourism. Here in Bulgaria, the tourism industry is worth some 6.8 billion euro to the economy, and that's roughly 11.7% of the GDP. And that's through around about 9 million tourists per year. If I also just bring in our neighbours Greece at the moment, and there is a reason for this, is that tourism contributes about 20% of the GDP to Greece. It's worth 19 billion euros to the economy, and that's generated through around about 33 million tourists. So therefore, any political decision is usually based on economic necessity. And I think that's the point that we're reaching now. What the politicians decide, the commercial field has to follow. And this sometimes is easier said than done. Just moving back onto the air side of things, Sofia Airport as a landing and taking off point, at one point was 93% down year on year. The airport went from round about 84 flights a day to 6 flights a day. There is a slight rebound now, and we're up to, again, approximately 24 flights per day. I say approximately because all these numbers are very fluid, and they're literally changing from day to day. But this is just to set the picture. And this week, literally this week, the amount of air travel available across Europe is down 78.7% on this time last year. That's week for week. That's a big hole to follow. If we were for one moment to say, okay, let's press the restart button. It was all an April's Fool joke. This didn't really happen. Let's go back to how it was before. Let's get the planes flying. Let's get that connectivity working again. It will be very difficult for airlines in particular to do so. And the reasons for this are quite straightforward. And I'll give you a few little facts and figures here. Lufthansa have cut or are cutting 22,000 jobs out of the 135,000 workforce. British Airways are getting rid of 12,000 staff out of 45,000 staff. Ryanair is getting rid of 15% of its staff. That's about 3,000 people. EasyJet are reducing by 30% as well, and they're getting rid of 4,500 people. If you look at the actual fleets, Lufthansa are taking out of service, they're putting in the scrap heap, 100 out of 770 planes. EasyJet are removing 51 out of 350 planes. And Air France are getting rid of their entire fleet of the big A380 Super Jumbos. Those only came into the equation in 2009, but as of this moment, they are now redundant. They've been sent to the scrap heap. I would also mention as well at this point that these actions are not spontaneous. The airlines planned all these moves some time ago. And what the coronavirus or COVID-19 has done is actually accelerate this decision-making process. It's actually facilitated the change that airlines have been wanting to do in the longer term. And I think I could use a phrase by Winston Churchill here, which is very appropriate. He made a simple comment in, never waste a good crisis. The airlines are certainly not wasting their chances here. That may lead to several unfortunate or, shall we say, expensive choices for companies in the future. It may lead to more expensive airline cost of tickets. The airlines themselves this year will lose $84 billion US. Their revenues are down 50%, and back in April, the capacity across the globe was minus 95%. Airlines were very, very quick, in fact, overly quick to forecast doom and gloom. And it almost became self-prophetic. You know, they talk themselves into a hole. However, whilst I may sound pessimistic, I'm also pragmatic, and I think there is optimism. The optimism will start on July the 1st. This is almost like an invisible start date where everybody is gearing towards, politicians alike. From this date onwards, it's almost like the airlines are resetting their programs, resetting their schedules, and they're trying to restart things. And again, just to give you an indication of this, Lufthansa intend to fly to 90% of their short-haul destinations across Europe by September. There is a caveat in this though, destinations and not flights. Sofia is a destination and they're flying to Sofia, great. But that might be 3 times per day and not 11 times per day as was originally planned. So the devil is in the detail here. When airlines are announcing their fleets will start flying to destinations, that doesn't always correlate to frequencies. At the same time, British Airways aim to be flying 50% of their total capacity by August. Turkish will restart on the 1st of July. They did intend to start on the 18th today, actually, but they've been delayed in that. But again, the devil is in the details. They were planning to launch to 16 destinations. Great, fantastic. They were flying to 306 destinations. EasyJet is planning to get 50% of its 1,000 routes operating by the end of July and 75% of its routes by the end of August. LOT, another key player in this region, and particularly with Bulgaria, are restarting their flights on July the 1st. So there is activity taking place in there. It's starting very slowly. The airlines will need to ramp up their services, ramp up their operations, but it's not quite as easy as getting the car out of the garage. You don't simply put the key into the ignition of a plane and restart it, off you go. It takes 2 or 3 weeks at least to get the planes in the right place. Many airlines have had their planes parked across Europe, in Spain, in France, all over. Those planes have to be put back in positions, they have to be serviced, the crews have to be rostered. So it's not quite so simple as clicking your fingers, off we go, let's start again. But there is movement. That movement will take effect in earnest from July the 1st. Will it be too late for July? Possibly. But we'll go into the positive side of things, the optimistic side of things, slightly later in this webinar. Back to you, Desi.
Thank you, Mark. I think the 1st of July is a good date to remember. It sets the tone for positivism and hopefully recovery for an industry that has been really severely hurt by COVID-19. Now I would like to hand over to Dejan to tell us a little bit how the COVID-19 crisis affected the hospitality industry and the chain you're working for in particular.
Thank you, Desi. Tourism is one of the most directly affected sectors in this current crisis. With international aviation at a virtual standstill since March, as Mark said, the closure of tourism sites and attractions, the cancellation or postponement of major festivals and events, and restriction on public gatherings in many countries, the impact of COVID-19 and the global tourism has been overwhelming and immediate. Furthermore, despite the sector's proven resilience in response to previous crises, the sheer depth of COVID-19 related impacts on tourism and the wider economy means a quick recovery is unlikely. The reality is that global tourism will be hard hit through 2020 and beyond, even if the spread of the virus is brought under control in the coming months. Tourism businesses were among the first ones to shut down following the introduction of measures to contain the virus, as tourism necessarily involves people-to-people interaction and movement of people traveling from their place of residence to destinations within their country or other countries. Tourism activities are also likely to be among the last one to restart and on a phased basis. So it's not going to happen immediately. Even when these businesses do open, it will be under new operating procedures in the absence of the vaccine. The pandemic is also likely to have an impact on the tourism behavior, impacting the recovery on international tourism. A revised forecast from the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development estimates 60% decline in international tourism in 2020, and those numbers could rise up to 80% if recovery is delayed until December. So it's not very optimistic at all. The last time the global tourism economy was hit so hard was after the financial crisis in 2008, but then the impact was only less than 4% decrease. Also, according to the World Tourism Organization, they estimate 22% decline of international tourism arrivals in the first 3 months of the year, and their forecast for the full 2020 is 60 to 80% decrease. This would mean a loss of between 910 million US dollars up to 1.2 trillion in export revenues from tourism. The World Travel and Tourism Council forecasts about 100 million jobs at risk globally, and this forecast is as of April. Much of the attention is focused on the international tourism, not least because of the availability of more data, but domestic tourism was also heavily impacted. Before the crisis, the domestic tourism accounted for 75% of tourism expenditures. In the last couple of years, China emerged as a global tourism powerhouse, ranking first as a source of outbound tourists in 2018, 10.6%. 14 international tourist arrivals, 4.5% behind only France, Spain, and the United States, and 11th in the international tourism receipts, 2.8. As such, the sudden interruption of outbound travel from China in January had an immediate impact on all destinations around the world. This was only the first indication of the potential threat that the virus posed to international tourism, and as it spread, it had very bad impact on other main markets and destinations around the world. Many countries now are moving to ease the restrictions as the pandemic is moving to the next phase. Starting in China and spreading elsewhere, restrictions are being lifted slowly one by one in most countries, and people will return to work and start to travel again, but on a limited scale. This is expected to be a slow process, and countries are seeking to manage the return on daily life while containing the virus at the same time. And it is not yet clear when a full return to tourism activities will be possible. This is a situation which is closely monitored by the governments, and the ease of restrictions should be in line with the development of the virus, because it can happen that the virus rises again. And I give one example. For example, in Singapore, they removed all the restrictions and people started to move, but then they had a second wave of the virus, so they had to reintroduce some of the restrictions. I will go quickly through what was the impact on COVID-19 on several tourism branches. As Mark said, aviation was really heavily impacted, so he covered it quite well. I will skip this one. Second one is the cruises. They were heavily impacted, and several cruise companies had to quickly put on stop on their sales until July, because you have too many people on one big cruise ship and there is a big risk of contamination. Railways, as people movement is limited or discouraged, including even in the countries which have eased their restrictions, railways see significant drop in revenues and passengers moving. Tour operators and travel agencies have reduced or halted operations until further notice. and having suspended their activities from mid-March until mid-May. TUI Group announced on 13th of May it was ready to resume their activities and indicated that forward bookings for summer 2021 were performing quite strongly. Accommodation and food services. Hotels, globally hotels have reported having extremely low occupancy rates or have experienced closure on massive scale, as everyone knows. Big hotels chains have seen their stock price plunge as a result. In Europe, it is estimated that 70%, even 80% of the hotels were closed. According to the data company STR, in the first week of May, many countries had an average occupancy rate lower than 30%. Some shared accommodation categories such as hostels or campings may be even stronger impacted in the longer term. Shared accommodation platforms, also the virus impacted them heavily. Bookings of apartments are declining, and in May, Airbnb had to cut 25% of their workforce. The holiday resorts, the ski resorts were forced to end the winter season earlier than expected due to the increasing virus spread. The restaurants, food and catering services providers had initially been required in many countries to increase social spacing in their establishments, limit their activities to deliver only in some instances, or entirely shut down activities as it happened in Bulgaria and many countries around us. Even after the restrictions are being lifted, food-related activities are still limited, and we can also see it in our country. In the United States, the National Restaurant Association estimates 225 billion euro lost during the first 3 months of the year. And also this could lead to 5 to 7 million jobs lost. In France, the measures resulted in closing of 75,000 restaurants, 3,000 clubs, 40,000 cafes, which affected the jobs of almost 1 million people who are temporarily laid off or completely lost their jobs. COVID also impacted the business meetings and event sector. Around the world, companies have canceled or suspended their business travel due to the virus, in some cases even until 2021. Even if events of all sizes were affected, including the 2020 Olympic Games. By the end of March, the Global Association of the Exhibition Industry estimated more than 500 big trade shows have been cancelled, and those was estimated to 23 billion euro of losses for the exhibitors. Culture, sport and entertainment. Museums and cultural event organizers are facing also huge financial losses because of the facilities shut down and the events postponed or completely cancelled. The International Council of Museums reported in the beginning of April that in Italy, the cultural sector is expected to lose 3 billion euro in the next semester. In Spain, the losses are calculated to be close to 1 billion euro. As I said earlier, the Tokyo Olympics were cancelled, which is also going to lead to big financial losses to all players in the hospitality industry. Tour guides, we know the situation also with the tour guides, that they often work as freelancers and they have significant drop in their activities, which leads to loss of their income.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm a little bit cautious of time as we have a lot
I need
of
20 more
questions.
seconds and I'm done.
Okay,
20 seconds.
go ahead.
Also, the travel technology companies were impacted. because, you know, when all the other segments are down, this means that the hospitality players need to use less and less their services. But the good news is that the health crisis is almost to an end and the lockdown measures are slowly being lifted. So let's stay positive. Let's focus on the future. And I think that things will come on the right path again.
Thank you very much, Dejan. That was a really thorough overview of the effects of COVID-19 on the hospitality industry. I know that all the hotels that we have on the panels represented today have not been standing still in the past 3 months, but have been preparing to welcome back your guests. And we are all eager to plan both our summer vacations and our business trips. So can you tell us what have you been doing in order to make sure that your guests feel safe? Maybe, Violeta, we can start with Kempinski Bansko.
Thank you, Desi. Good morning, everyone. With this beautiful scenery behind me, I would like to bring some positive vibes and really inspire you for your next wonderful vacation. Kempinski as a company manages 77 luxury hotels in countries which were more or less affected by COVID-19. The first hotel to face the pandemic were our properties in China, where the hygiene and safety measures were introduced already in January this year. The experience of the Chinese hotels helped Kempinski at a very early stage to introduce a handbook with an operational strategy called White Glove Services, which together with the requirements of the local authorities got implemented in all of our hotels worldwide. The White Glove Service handbook contains 87 pages in its last edition, 5th in a row, and prescribes in a great details all measures, internal procedures and best practices which needs to be followed in order to secure the utmost safety and well-being of our guests and employees. Starting from the moment of taking the guest reservation, sending the pre-arrival email with all necessary information, covering all hotel premises, back of the house, and finishing not with the guest checkout, but one step further with the guest satisfaction post-survey. Some of our partners ask me why the name of the handbook is White Glove. And it's not only because all of our employees wear white gloves, but as well because the white glove symbolizes the luxury experience of our guests, which is our Kempinski brand promise, and which promise, despite the COVID-19 situation, we as a luxury hotelier have to deliver. Equipped with the White Glove Services handbook and following all governmental hygiene and safety requirements, we decided to open the hotel on 22nd of May this year. I'll be honest, the decision was taken after a very careful planning. Firstly, all necessary equipment was bought. We secured sanitizing stations in all premises, personal hygiene kits for every guest and employee, appointed a hygiene task manager, installed plastic walls securing the social distances, and even purchased the UV lamps, which entirely sterilize all surfaces in the rooms and hotel premises. We trained the staff, and this training, apart from all safety procedures included, was as well aimed to deliver the luxury experience under these new circumstances. How to communicate to the guest, how to show empathy and create loyalty. Later on in our discussion, we will talk about digitalization, which of course is the future, not only for our industry. However, we as the luxury hotelier do believe that the people communication, the personalized service delivered by caring employees will be even more important during the time of such pandemics. And here, I would like to mention that despite all financial cuts and cost savings, not even one labor contract got terminated at the Kempinski Hotel Grand Arena Bansko. For all, our management was essential, and it is essential to keep the employees engaged, to show them loyalty, and by no means to affect the quality of the luxury service delivered to our guests, which is our Kempinski brand promise. Last but not least, as measures, we change as well our marketing communication and offers, making them much more attractive and convenient for our guests, especially by introducing a 24 hours free cancellation policy. On a company level, we secured an entire process for hosting business meetings in a safe environment. And we are extremely happy to welcome our first meeting for this season tomorrow. Back to Desi, because we have to take care of the short time.
Thank you, Billy. We understand that it might be difficult to travel via airline all over the world, but luckily we can travel by car to all the mountain and seaside resorts in Bulgaria. So maybe Borovets or Bansko or the seaside would be the right destination for this season. Adi, can you tell us how you are preparing to welcome your guests in the BT hotels this year?
Hello, everyone from me as well. I'm happy that after having so much statistics from Mark and Diane, which are not so, how to say, promising, Violetta moved to what actually will be. I just want to share that it's much easier for chain hotels like Accor, like Kempinski, and all the big ones to have their big teams behind working on the health and safety in the current environment and implement all those measures to make sure the guests will be safe in the properties. I want to share as well that we, as a small, not 77 as Violetta mentioned, but 7 hotels only, which are operating now in Bulgaria, all our team was very much eager to find the best solution from the best practices from big hotel chains and be part of the team to review all the standards of operations, change them like the new way in terms of health and safety. We've been happy to found a partner like City Clinic at Jamadvice, and we prepared with them a program which we called Be Healthy and Stay Active with BT Hotels Collection. So we do implement all those things that the big chains has. We also organize the team for prevention within each and every property, which are well trained. They're aware of all those state authority things to be done, and they do communicate with the doctors we have contracts with, so we have a safe environment. As Violetta mentioned, we also focus on providing more to our customers in terms of our packages. Besides the health environment, which will be the new normal, we've done everything possible to be as flexible as needed by the demand we see from the guests that are looking for vacations, like flexible cancellation fee the terms, no deposits, more inclusions for outdoor activities, because health is the most important, as we've seen, to everybody. And being on vacation is proven that it's quite healthy, and being outside with the nature is one of the things that can support your health best way. In terms of meetings as well, we prepared quite a long list with recommendations together with the Congress Bureau. We've been working with the state authorities, with the ministry, as the recommendation from the sector to the state, what measures will be best in order to keep the people safe. I'm so happy that we managed to get back 50% of our meeting spaces as a proof to be welcoming events. And as Billy is saying, we are happy to already see some movement. It's not very big events that are people organizing nowadays, which is normal to my opinion, because still there are some precautions in terms of COVID-19, but groups are between like 20 to 50. Few requests about 100, 150 people capacity meetings. However, team buildings are quite going on in terms of requests from the corporate sector, because people are locked at home and they really need to be together again to be more safe. They prefer to be outside. And in addition, what was a demand in a way, it's like a very small one for the time being, but it's getting more and more. we have a room or rooms which are taken by companies, and they're sending their teams to work from the mountains or from the seaside. So there are different solutions that companies are taking for their teams in order to keep their mentality on the healthy side. In addition, they're kind of incentivized. They still work, but they are on much pleasant environment and not locked home. So after 6 o'clock, you can go to the beach, or you can go a lunch break in the mountains, or simply you book your vacation and do different things without working, because everybody will still need vacation. In terms of overview for mountain and seaside hotels, it will be a difficult season. I will not repeat all the statistics so far. It's a big risk that we all take to open our properties, because the situation is changing on a weekly basis, even occasionally on a daily basis. However, we believe that by being flexible, we'll meet as much as possible expectations of our customers. The key thing here is to be flexible, and on the other side, to be fast enough, because things from the client side as well are changing on day-to-day basis. You receive the request for a group gathering or vacation today for tomorrow, so we'll need to be able to meet those last-minute requests. Happily, the teams are so much happy to go back to work. So I believe we'll be definitely providing good quality service. Everybody will be engaged to make sure that people will be happy. They are happy to meet with their colleagues, and I believe everything will go on the positive way. The virus will not disappear today, neither tomorrow, until we don't have the vaccine. So we need to make sure that we keep our mental health good enough and live in this environment. Soon we'll be expecting some movement from the countries which are sending charter flights to Bulgaria, which are important markets. However, you don't know if the goods will be good or bad. Yesterday, for example, Ukraine, they continue their lockdown until 31st of July. There is a very small movement from Moldova in terms of reservations. For our properties, we are happy to have number 3 as market, the Bulgarian. So we are very much depending on Bulgarians to move. I was so happy to see the poll that a lot of people will be traveling within the country, and they do plan to have a vacation. So we are prepared. We'll be happy to do a tailor-made within your concerns offers for the stays. And I believe that all the colleagues in the sector will do their best to stay safe with the teams, with the guests. And we continue to work with the government to give them the best practices as ideas and move forward, because it will not finish tomorrow. But we need to survive all together. So we'll be looking forward for your support in our properties in the mountains or at the seaside or mid of the country. We are ready for you. I mean, we do not want to have somebody on risk. We do our teams, all the trainings, everything is checked. So it will be a safe environment for your travels.
Thank you very much, Adi. Both of you ladies got us dreaming a little bit about vacation or working from seaside or mountain resorts.
But it's not a dream. It's not a dream. It can happen. We just need to be a bit more cautious, and that's it. I mean, we are ready, so the dream can come true.
Absolutely, and I feel safer now after hearing from both of you. Back to Mark now. Mark, can you very shortly comment on your short-term forecast on business travel? Well, when and if and to what extent it will recover in the next months?
Yeah, and I may have sounded pessimistic previously, but let me say I'm reasonably positive, although tinged with a bit of realism. 3 very quick samples here. This week, 1,500 European travel managers, and now these are the people from probably the top 1,500 companies across Europe, took part in a poll with their organization. 43 want to start traveling as soon as possible. And 70% said they want to do it sooner rather than later. Just one of those countries, Denmark, only at 3% that said that they were reluctant to travel, which is basically nothing. Another little fact there, yesterday I was involved in a Lufthansa discussion, and they'd surveyed their clients here in Bulgaria, and 80% of them said that they intended to travel by October, 87%. And of those, 60% intended to do more than one travel itineraries. And then perhaps the most important one, and perhaps the most relevant, or perhaps the most accurate, our organization, the BCD, it's one of the big three global TMCs in the world. Many of our clients are the big global, multinational, international organizations. Last week, a group of our clients, the travel managers from some of the biggest companies across Europe, were around a table with our chief executive, and their forecast this year is that across the globe, their organizations, the biggest organizations in the world, will be minus 65% on their travel. Next year, it will be minus 30 to 40%. However, Europe is way ahead of the curve in these figures. Europe will be out of the negativity before any other region. These figures are dragged down by Africa, by South America, Latin America, etc. But Europe will be massively better than these figures. So these are like the worst case scenarios. So if we assume that next year it's minus 30, 40% across the globe, Europe may be down 10%, 20%. That's not a bad position to be in. But another comment which came out of this from those companies, the very same companies, and that COVID is actually not changing their plans, it's simply accelerating their plans. These plans that they will now do have been on the table for a long time. In other words, it's a golden opportunity for them to change. Just what that change is, it could be moving to an online booking tool, it could be consolidating their travel through people like us, I don't know. But these plans were on the table. They are not new plans. Now, there will still be barriers though for people traveling, and they can be significant barriers, and part of that is in the mindset. The duty of care, which any employer will be aware of, is now #1 on the agenda. That translates to the well-being of travelers. That is #1. Previously, the green agenda had rose to the top of corporate agendas, how to be more environmentally sensitive, how to travel less, etc., etc. Now, duty of care, looking after your employees, is #1 consideration when booking travel. Another consideration here is the role of travel bans. As it stands at the moment, I think I can say almost without exception, every international company has a travel ban in place until the end of August. Some have even gone as far as to extending that ban until the end of this year, which is quite honestly a bit ridiculous. The problem with travel bans is they are not localized, they are globalized. And these decisions are made by people far away from Bulgaria. They may be made in London, they may be made in Los Angeles, they may be made in New York. And the realism of what it's like on the ground can be completely different in America than it can be in Europe. So the perception of how safe the world is can be very much viewed simply by one person sitting in a desk thousands and thousands of miles away. That can be a significant hindrance to people's ability to travel locally and across Europe. And also the SMEs, small medium enterprises, which Bulgaria bases its economy on, are much more fluid. They're much more able to change faster than the big international companies. So if there is any change initially in the first month or two, it's likely to be driven by the SMEs, not by the multinationals. Another battle is trust. People will want to fly again. They want to fly for business, they want to fly for leisure, they want to fly for pleasure. And basically part of the battle is ensuring that these people are confident in the situation that will allow them to travel and to feel safe. Now, many people have had to take their holiday entitlements for the year over the past few months. That's simply a way of them keeping their jobs. They may not have the time left now to take their vacation as they would normally do. Many people have had reductions in salaries. So, will a holiday, will travel be high on their personal agenda for their leisure travel? Will they be able to afford it? It's an open question of which there is no answer. And also there's the lack of trust which some people have experienced, both individually and through their employers, in that tickets have been paid for, travel has been paid for, and it's not been refunded. Now, to this end, and I wouldn't want to tie anybody on this call with the brush, and I'm fairly certain that the people in this panel are not relevant, but many hotel chains are offering credit for future use and not refunds. The airlines are even worse. The airlines, they would like to make an excuse, and I want to be impartial here. They are less keen on refunding money than they should be. Just as one example of that, and I don't want to be, shall we say, contentious here, Air France official line, if you don't take a credit, we will pay you back in 12 months from when you apply. So if you need that money for your family now for a previous ticket you couldn't take, you want to reuse that money for a holiday or whatever, you have to wait 12 months. Ryanair are taking about 4 to 5 months to give people their money back. So this is a loss of trust from the individual traveller, and it also creates a great deal of mistrust amongst the travel fraternity when dealing with airlines. Would you book an airline ticket, and if the airline cancels that flight, they don't give you your money back? The answer is no. Yeah, just a by-the-by situation. Also, people's perception of safety when they're traveling. We see people on the road now, they're driving with face masks inside their own cars. Now, each person has their own opinion on whether face masks are relevant or not, whether they're beneficial or not. But if you're the sort of person that's driving in a face mask inside your own car, you're not likely to be willing to travel on an aeroplane in a tube of metal for 3 or 4 hours, or transit through an airport with several thousand people. So it's about the perception of people. Now, airports are doing their very, very best to make it safe. And like the hotels, sanitizers will be everywhere. All the staff at the airport will be wearing masks, they'll be wearing gloves. There's the perspex shields between the staff and yourself. Just to countenance that though, and again, be a bit more pragmatic, they want people to use self-service machines. Well, how many times is a self-service machine touched by people at an airport when they're self-checking in? Unless you're wearing gloves yourself, you're simply moving the risk, you're not avoiding the risk. Pre-flight declarations for safety that you don't have the coronavirus, how do you know you've got it? Post-flight declarations, where you're staying and so on. Many of these things are cosmetic to get people confident that people are trying to make things safe. And it's the same in the air as well. We heard about journalists writing about the middle seats would be left open on airplanes. Total rubbish. Absolute no. That's not going to happen. Some, in fairness, have actually started it, which is easy to do when your planes are 1/3 full. But economic reality, once again, those seats have to be filled. And there was a very interesting case study a couple of weeks ago which showed, I think it was a Singapore or a Cathay Pacific flight where someone on the plane had coronavirus. Other people on the plane also contracted it, but not in the immediate vicinity of the passenger. If the passenger was on row 10, no one in rows 8, 9, 11 or 12 contracted it. It was people wider afield that actually got it. So having the middle seat vacant is not a solution. It's about, again, the perception of safety, that the crew have got gloves on, that the crew have got face masks on, that disinfection's taking place after every trip and not once a week as the low-cost carriers would invariably do. It's that perception of safety. designed to get people confident to travel again.
Thank you. Thank you,
And
Mark.
finally,
Thank you, Mark. Just one final word because we're way behind schedule. No final word?
no, very quickly, 10 seconds. Will people want to travel? The answer is in July. Now, it's too soon. People will not want to travel in July. August might be a start date. And if in September the hotels in Bansko or in Sofia can say, we are now 50% of occupancy that we were last year, it will be a success. That to me is the short-term realism. That's it.
Thank you, Mark. We have a couple of other questions for this panel, but we are way behind schedule and we want to give enough time for the next panel as well. So I would just ask all of the participants from hotels, just 1 minute each for your short and long-term forecast. Diane, can we start with you? But please be short. You're mute.
Okay, apologies.
Go
The
ahead.
expectations are growing that the recovery to the pre-crisis level may take 2 years or more. According to International Air Travel Association, the airlines are unlikely to see the return to the pre-crisis level before the beginning of 2021, while the hospitality data company STR estimates that the return to the pre-crisis level will be not before 2022, even there are some worse forecasts, not before 2024. The tourism to major cities is expected to recover first, of course, and key issue for all destinations will be where the minimum critical mass of services will remain operational after the coronavirus crisis to be able to take care of the visitors. And I just put one question here. Big issue is how the local people will perceive the situation. There is a big risk that the tourism flows will become a vector for spreading the virus, which means that the people living in a specific destination may turn against, how to say, they may refuse and they may jump on their governments to be willing to accept tourists because of the risk of spreading the virus, which is something which may happen and put some destination at risk. That's it. That's it for me.
Thank you, Dejan. Willy, you had some slides prepared. Do you still want to use a couple of them very quickly?
Yes, we can really quickly go through them.
Okay, go ahead.
The road to recovery might look at the very beginning very long and not ideal. I might say a bumpy one. However, if you follow the Nike logo, George, you can show it. Steep in, slow out. On the next slide, you can see the factors that actually are affecting the timeline. Here, governmental restriction, we all know that currently we still have some, especially when it comes to business meetings and events. Of course, we will see how the situation will change after 30th of June. Afterwards, we have the airline capacities, and I hear Mark, I think, covered everything. And of course, it's very, very important to move to the third topic about the corporate cost cuts, because at the moment, this is the major problem for all the companies. And of course, some of the employees as well are infected by such problematic situation in which they have to really deal with lack of vacations and planning where to leave their kids, and etc., etc. Of course, the psychological issue, the fear to travel, which as well is something that many people in Bulgaria are still experiencing, and not only in Bulgaria, abroad too. And last but not least, the global recession. I don't want to be negative. I don't want to go into this direction. I think they covered a lot about the topic and the possible outcomes that might affect our industry. If we can just quickly see something more optimistic, the four-phase model that Kempinski prepared, and actually this model shows the nature of the business after the decline and the lockdown, because we are over in Bulgaria. of these processes, we can see the first phase, which is called domestic, where we have the reopening of the infrastructure and the slow rebound of domestic market with a very short lead time, maybe mainly individual business with a few meetings and events. Of course, here I have to mention that they're under high restriction and safety measures. I do hope that very quickly we will move to the next phase, the second one, the corporate, where we will have all the manufacturing reopening, not only in Bulgaria, but as well in the world. This will be a slow rebound of international corporate market, together with the corporate events by industry sector, again with some restrictions and of course following some safety measurements. The third phase, the international phase, where we see recovery of international leisure demand, but still limited service offerings and occupancy below 40%. Here we can already notice that we will have a nice business recovery and very few conferences and large events. Ideally, phase 4, the new normal, the full recovery with rebound of international leisure demand and meeting business. And here just quickly, I will mention our experience when we opened the Kempinski Grand Arena Bansko. Actually, we were very lucky because over the weekend of 22nd of May, we had 20% occupancy and afterwards on a weekdays basis, 6%. And now we are very happy to see the increase of the number of reservations on a daily basis. And as Adi mentioned, is the same tendency in the other resorts in Bulgaria. So we expect more weekend individual business coming from the domestic market and slowly from the neighboring countries. The Pyrenean Mountains, they're ideal for family holidays. We have created attractive packages, culinary for kids, for mountain biking, and etc. And we already see the first bookings of these packages for July and August. And here the good news is that the famous Jazz Festival and Opera Fest will happen again this year, which makes Bansko offer again very appealing. And here again, the connection that we, it's not enough that only the hotels is open. It's needed the infrastructure of the resorts, of the cities, where as well everything else functions. Unfortunately, we lost our leisure group business from EU and outside EU, which was contracted last year for this summer. We lost a lot of meetings and incentive business, which on a short-term base will be very hard to recover, provided the fact that most of the corporate companies have travel ban until the end of the year. However, we expect much more volume for the next year. Most of the meetings canceled actually got postponed for next year. We signed already a couple of groups and meeting contracts for 2021 with both domestic and as well with international partners. And so when it comes to the leisure individual business, again, winter is very attractive. We see a lot of British customers booking the winter season. Is the same in Borovets. Adi talked about this previously. So we definitely can be more optimistic in a long term and to see not only the domestic, the Bulgarian market, but as well other key markets like Russia, Israel, Turkey, booking our hotel and destination. Thank you very much. I try to be as fast as possible.
Thank you, Vili. You can speak fast, I could hear that. Adi, now the last minute of this panel goes to you for a wrap-up and BT Hotels.
I will not repeat everything like what was said so far. We really depending on global conditions on each and every government and restrictions, flights, corporate business travelers, funds for team buildings, trainings, etc. As Vili said, we are looking positively in the future because international requests, all kind of leads in different market segments are really for next year. And I believe that this year will be a good one because people will discover again their own country. There will be a more local and regional travels. Unfortunately, we'll need to be even more flexible than before and adjust on different directions. However, I see that people that are not afraid to travel are also complying with what measures the hotels are taken, so everybody is respectful to each other. And I believe that soon or later things will be, how to say, mentally accepted as the new normal, because we are talking about this one, but still people are afraid on different things. But I believe soon we'll be having mentality switched, because there will be nothing changing yet. And as Mark started in the beginning with this statement, don't miss the great opportunity of a crisis, if I'm not mixing it up. For us, it will be fantastic time on the side of reviewing all the things, and some projects which were on the table, actually they moved ahead in terms of new solutions, digitalization, and any other technical solutions that hotel can implement because of COVID-19, because of less contact with guests. So we also moved on this direction, and we use the time also to upgrade our services and have more technologies in our hotels. And I believe that this might be a good move forward to our innovation panel, next one. So thank you guys for all solutions that you're providing to us. And yeah, I believe everybody will be upgraded soon on quite a good level.
Thank you very much, Adi, for providing this smooth transition to the next panel. I would like to thank all our panelists from the travel and hospitality panel. No matter how short and concise all of us tried to be, the topic is so broad that we took a little bit more time. But stay with us for the second panel. Now we move to innovation, because crisis always kicks off innovation and disruption. And we have three panelists who can really share some very interesting ideas, solutions, and forecasts. I will very briefly introduce our panelists in the second panel, starting with Elis Tuilova, who is the co-founder and CEO of chatbot agency Umni. Elis says coming to the IT world and being in charge of a chatbot agency today is a result of a 22 years career in hospitality, from a line staff in a hotel to a general manager of a resort and tour operator, and a consultant in destination marketing on Mariana Islands, tropical islands in the Pacific Ocean. After spending close to 20 years on the islands, when she was recognized twice with government awards for being instrumental in the destination marketing and development. And now she's back to Bulgaria, working 3 years with Umni. Chatbot agency Umni focuses on creating, maintaining, and training chatbots with conversational AI for various businesses, including hospitality. She's a big fan of futurology, paper crafting, and Zumba fitness. You will hear from Eli in a while. Then we have Genoveva Hristova-Murray, who will actually kick off our panel. She is a naturally born entrepreneur from Varna, the Black Sea coast. She is a Master of Science in International Economic Relations from the University of Economy in Sofia. She is co-founder and managing director of Ligna Group, president of the Bulgarian Furniture Cluster, vice president of the Association of Business Clusters in Bulgaria, Entrepreneur of the Year 2010, and co-founder of Missia 23, the creative hub in Sofia, which is also the home of the British Bulgarian Business Association. Genoveva is also a board member of our association and a big fan of sports, athletics, football, music, traveling, and discovering the world around. And last but not least, the gentleman on the second panel is presenting a very innovative company called BBBA, also an excellent member of our association. Martin Jonovsky is the marketing manager of BBBA, who has more than 10 years of experience with experimenting with alternative and innovative approaches in communication and life. He believes that development requires a different way of thinking. So let's try and get on the wave of innovation. Genoveva, I will invite you to kick off with some overview of how the industry is changing in these challenging times, and what is the general overview of the post-coronavirus world? Is the world becoming more innovative?
We have to. As Mark said, previously in the previous panel, it's all about the entrepreneurs and it's all about the creativity. Because if we're not creative and if we can see the crisis as a opportunity, because it's a challenge, but only if we're being creative how to swim in this challenge, then probably we can get stronger out of it. So in this global world, my company, we furnish more than 25,000 rooms, for the last 12 years. So we've been in the hospitality industry a lot, and we know what this, how the tourist needs to be safe, and exactly as our colleagues been speaking about previously. So maybe you have friends who, in the past, they've been traveling with their sheets and their pillows to the hotels. I personally have some friends, and you can see these guys are crazy. They've probably been like 2% of the all travelers, and my colleagues will confirm this. Now these people, I guess they could be maybe 25 to 30%. So all these who will take all these precautions to be safe in the hotel. So all the hotels need to offer is trust and safety first. So the new green is clean is the new green, if I can say it this way. So the cleanness and this feeling of being safe in the hotel is the very first, is how the hotels need to welcome their guests. And we've been working on this in the last 3 months. Immediately, it took about 72 hours for us just to see, okay, how to adapt the strategy, what to do, and how to use the opportunity to introduce to the product, to the market a new product. We will help the hotels and the tourists to overcome these challenges. And I would like to, following the Winston Churchill mark, I would like to quote Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett said, only when the tide goes out, you can discover who's been swimming naked, right? So we've been prepared some nice swimming trendy quotes for the hotels I would like to introduce. So this you need to tell me, should I speak now or later? But I would like you just to say how we see and what type of products we would like to launch, so the hotels will be really, and the travelers will feel really, really safe.
Lini, I suggest we hear from the other two panelists first on some general trends, and then we'll move to the particular innovative solutions that all of you have to share with us today. Martin, could you comment on what are the trends that you have been observing on the Bulgarian market in the past month?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for your attention and time. Yes, I will share with you one maybe positive trend. As you know, most hotels in Bulgaria market use old technologies, mostly offline solutions. And now the situation is different, as we know. In the last 30 days, we have an increased number of inquiries. All of the hotel owners and managers we spoke to want to have a 24/7 online solution for guest and staff management. Having that powerful tool, they can actually fully comply with sanitation regulation, control their cleaning schedules, control access and time attendance of their stuff. But I will share most information shortly.
Thank you very much, Martin. We're looking forward to hearing more about the solutions you're offering and the hotels that are using them. Eli, do you want to share what are the trends, innovative trends that you are observing lately?
Sure. Thank you, Desi. Okay, really briefly, the coronavirus locked people for awfully long time at home, and many of them will remain at home office in months and years to come. Many businesses are changing their business models right now. So people were locked with their gadgets and Wi-Fi as their main way to connect with the world. What we call digital native, which was usually related to millennials and Generation Z think, it became forcefully the new normal for all generations. The existing trends and habits, such as mindset of self-service created in the past 20 years by Google and internet, and the chatting as a main way of communication, already have very deep roots, and they're now in their extreme, and they will remain strong and persist in the months to come. Mark mentioned that the word accelerate many times. It is truly a key word. According to Microsoft, McKinsey, and Gartner reports from the past 2 months, the acceleration of digitalization right now is such that 1 month equals to 1 up to 3 years of development before, which means in the past 3 months, digitalization globally for people and businesses equal up to 10 years of normal technology adoption and transition. How it resulted? If in previous 10 years, the digital consumption and communication was increased with some 20 to 30 minutes per year, up to average 7 hours per day last year, it happened as this spring with 1 month, 22 minutes increase only in the month of April. The internet consumption also jumped over 50% in the developed countries. There was a poll by Yotpo in April done with customers in 38 countries, which determined that 20% of consumers look at their phone over 100 times a day, and 72% do so between 25 and 100 times per day. Also staying at home, 65% of the people were browsing and shopping on their mobile devices as a choice before notebooks and desktop. So when we are talking about personal communication and behavior, these are habits that people are taking in their communication with businesses, and because businesses are made by people for people. So when we talk about guest experience in post-coronavirus world, I would like to emphasize that digital, mobile, 24/7, personalized, and self-service options are a must now for all type of businesses if they want to stay in touch with the customers and maintain the connection, especially now. Also expect more virtual reality, augmented reality, and other technologies to jump straight on the first line of guest experience created by the business.
Thank you very much, Eli. It seems that the future is now. Let's now observe how the 3 companies we have on the panel are disrupting the current reality of the hospitality sector. Geni, let's start with Ligna. Furniture is usually probably thought to be something that is not so innovative, I would say, just desks and chairs and beds, but I'm sure you have something very interesting to share with us now, and we have some good visuals that Georgi will put on the screen.
Thank you, Desi. Yeah, but I guess in your kitchen, you have also very nice smart technology. So furniture has been considered like a traditional and not so innovative sector. But recently, furniture, I mean, there's so many technologies, like in car industry, in automotive industry, one of the newest technologies is tested in the, as I said, in the kitchen. So I guess everybody, all of you, you know what I'm talking about. But let's go back to the hotels. So in this absolutely unprecedented crisis, we started thinking, okay, if we are the customers and we should enter into the rooms, first of all, we need to touch a lot of things, right? Because you need to open the door. First of all, you need to go to the reception and you need to take your key. Or, as our colleagues are saying, and many of the hotels are introducing the digital system, either with your phone, with the app to open, but still the mechanism of the door should open because you need to touch or you need to somehow, press the handle on, and to enter to the room. Then in the room, I guess some of you would like to experience some of the minibar, right? Or you want to open the wardrobe so you can hang on your clothes, which means you're touching the surfaces. Or you need to press the switcher on, so to switch on the lighting or to enter into the bathroom, right? So we were starting thinking all about this, and we said, okay, we should think about the hardware. We're thinking now about the hardware because we are furniture makers. So let's have a product who fits the furniture because we know how the furniture is functioning. We can make furniture and all these doors I'm talking about, and the word and the drawers. So how to operate in the room touchless, which is being quite provocative, but I'm very, very proud of my team that they really, I mean, they surprised me, and as I said, I'm very proud of them. So next slide, please, George. As I said, don't touch. So this is the key, and you'll see it afterwards. So in this key, if you take it from the self-check-in, because many of the hotels will have self-check-in, you have a personal key, and with this key, actually, it's a I think nice gadget, as you can see it. It's very easy to hold it. You can touch or just press next to the door handle, and then you enter into the room. Imagine this is a nice room. Imagine you're in a nice hotel room and a resort in Varna or in Bansko or wherever. Bulgaria is so beautiful. So in this room, it will be more and more, the room design will be to the simplicity. So no more complexity, no more heavy furniture or these surfaces you need to clean. I think this is the good news for everybody. The design will be much more clean, and this is really the future room 2021. More simple and clean. As I said, the cleanness and hygiene needs to go first. As Hilton Hotel said, let's lift up the cleanness to the hospital standard. So no wonder Adriana was saying about the cooperation with City Clinic. So we need to introduce such type of hygiene. So with these rooms needs to be very fast and very safe and very easily clean. As I said, let's not focus on so many surfaces. So, but in this room, next one, please. So you should, with the handle, I will go and show you the next one. You need to open this wardrobe drawers. You could switch on your light. You can also manipulate the light if you would like it more dark or more light, whatever on your mood to this day. And so you can move around or you can open the minibar and take a nice drink. So, and you can feel safe because with this UV key, next one, please. I know we're very short. With this UV key, so with this UV key, who is your personal key, nobody else will be touch it or it will stay with you. You can, in this box, the box with your belongings, you can see there is some car keys, there's your phone, there's wallet, in a very small, nice box with a UVC lighting there, that's for disinfection. So this is the LED light. Integrated into the bedside table. For about 10 minutes, you can disinfect all your belongings, including the key you entering into the room and operating into the room. And I know that maybe it's not enough clear what I'm talking about, but on the 23rd of June, which is just in 5 days, we are going to have our first offline event. I said offline event. So I'll be so happy to see all of you in Mission 23, where the BBBA offices and also Ligna Group offices are. So, and we would like to show you how this key is operating, and you can personally touch it and operate into our virtual room. So the first prototypes are ready. I'm so happy to announce it today, and they're safe and very easy to clean, and they're very affordable. So next one, I think the last one, please. So let's turn the safety on and welcome our guests this in all the hotels feeling safe and focus on their pleasure and not to worry about all these masks, gloves, whatsoever. So thank you very much, and see you on the 23rd.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dini. You promised that we will be able to invite all our participants in today's webinar to the event where you will be able to actually see, probably not touch, but see what you just showed us on the pictures. So all of you will receive an invitation to the event hosted by Ligna at Mission 23. I cannot wait to see those gadgets looking really pretty and very innovative. Now let's move to chatbot. Ailey, please try to be as concise as possible. Tell us a little bit about Umni and how COVID-19 affected the whole industry and your business. And unmute yourself, please. Yes,
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Desi, for the question. The challenges I had as an employee in a hotel, a manager, and later as a hotel executive for the past 20 years were often related to the optimization of repetitive and routine tasks and to improving constantly the communication with customers. This is how I came to the chatbots, and I truly believe that chatbots right now are one of the technologies that can help the business solve the problems in these areas, as well as help recover fast in the next months and years. Let me just say a few words about the chatbot agency. Umni, our company is focusing on creating, maintaining, and training chatbots with conversational artificial intelligence for various businesses, including hospitality. We have customers from finance, public and service sector, entertainment industry, medical, and other businesses, as well as we assist 3, 4, and 5-star hotels in Bulgaria and travel agencies. What makes us different is our chatbot management platform, MyBot, which allows the business to manage inquiries received through the chatbot, to maintain and create the chatbot content, and to answer to customer questions in the conversational AI model fast, easy, from one place, at any time, without any technical skills for the hotel employees. Especially for the hotels, our hotel centralized conversational AI module already contains over 400 hotel topics with over 3,600 potential customer questions behind, including COVID-19 measures for each hotel. What does it mean is that the hotel can upload its information within a day, and the hotel chatbot can chat with the customers on 400 hotel topics from day one. We are targeting to reach 1,000 hotel topics by the end of the year. So, you asked me about COVID-19 and the chatbots now, and why they're so popular right now. Chatbots are not a new technology. The first chatbot was a psychotherapist, and it was created in 1966. So there are already millions of chatbots in services today, and we hear about them and see them today because they have already become an affordable, reliable, and mass service for the business. COVID-19 put the spotlight on the chatbots as a recovery solution. The businesses are expected to offer as much as possible services and products remotely, as Genoveva said, touchless, contactless, and digitally, and it is desirable for them to provide self-service option. The danger of the second and the third COVID-19 waves require businesses to reduce fixed costs and adapt to new business models and processes that make them more flexible and faster to act in case of another lockdowns. And the chatbots address all these business needs. They work 24/7. As a self-service and contactless solution, they help protect people from the spread of infections. They're fast, easy, and convenient to work for both customers and staff, help the business reduce costs and save resources, and really help optimize processes and staff time and performance. So these are the very reasons why 2 months ago, Gartner put chatbots in their list for the top 5 technologies and activities businesses need to use now and in the next 18-24 months to get out of the crisis faster. Gartner advised businesses to focus on improving digital efficiency and self-service, and chatbots were in their list as an affordable solution for digitalization and automation of the communication and routine tasks.
Thank you, Eli. Can you tell us about the travel and tourism industry, how we can help hotels and travel agencies?
Okay. Last year, Microsoft published a study according to which over 90% of the customers expect from the businesses a self-service platform that's available 24/7. And that's exactly what chatbots are. I'll give you an example with one of our customers. We work with the largest Russian tour operator in Bulgaria, Test Tour, already for over a year. And we just completed a case study with them. So for the past 10 months, Test Tour chatbot has assisted over 4,200 customers by answering over 30,000 questions. The bot completed successfully over 1,100 booking inquiries, and it saved an average of 12 minutes per customer in the marketing department and in the reservation department, which is over 850 working hours saved to the staff. In the peak season, the bot saved up to 150 hours a month. Before the chatbot implementation, the staff in these departments chatted with customer 4 to 6 hours a day. Basically, Test2 reported to us that the chatbot works as a full-time employee and saves one position to the company. And the tour operator staff really loves the bot because they can do better job not being constantly interrupted by the same questions. Test2 bot also serves as the night duty staff in the team as the processes, inquiries, and questions between 7 o'clock in the evening and 8 o'clock in the morning were an average 35% of all inquiries. And that's very interesting. What we see in all chatbots in all industries right now, the past 3 months, is that the night chat increased in many cases up to average 48% of all chats for the month. And we have similar case studies for the Dermatology Clinic Reverse and the Varna Regional Library. I would like to note here something really important for the chatbots, because chatbot can integrate with countless other software, CRMs, and reservation systems and other online platforms. the list of advantages and benefits of the chatbots is really huge. And for every single company, it really depends on the chatbot purpose. What I would like to mark is that the important thing is the chatbot is really answering frequently asked questions and can boost the direct sales because it's catching and answering instantly. And let's say the reality, according various industry statistics, at least 50% and average of in the hotels, average 75% of customers' questions repeat. Because of that, chatbots work 24 hours a day and respond instantly. That helps increase direct sales, especially for those customers who send requests at night to several businesses, to hotel A, B, and C. Who is the winner? Usually the winner is the business that reacts first to the customer inquiry. That makes the chatbots an excellent tool for reducing costs and resources and optimizing staff performance, as well as valuable staff assistance. And just to finish, for the chatbots, I would like to remind for those hotels and travel agencies that haven't heard about that. In March, our company announced an offer for hotels for free creation and implementation of a standard hotel chatbot and free maintenance of the chatbot until September 1st. The offer includes the centralized AI model with over 400 hotel topics in it. And the hotels that already contacted us have their chatbots right now assisting customers both at the Black Sea coast and in the countryside. Due to the great interest to our offer from travel agencies, we open also our offer to travel agencies for a standard chatbot, and we already have a couple of travel agencies using their chatbots for communication in their customers. Just to remind you, the offer is still on, and it's available until September 1st.
Thank you very much, Eli. It seems that chatbots are here to stay, and what you mentioned in terms of helping both the industry and also improving the customer experience is something that will be welcomed from both sides, I'm sure. And now, last but not least, actually, Martin, you are the dessert in our menu today with BioDit and your guest and staff management solutions. Can you tell us a bit more about the company, about your experience, and the new understanding of pleasure and comfort for the guests? The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations for technologies that were presented by Genoveva and Eli. BioDit is a high technological company specialized in the development and manufacture of online solutions for guest and staff management. And I will share something very important for every hotel in the future. First of all, information about guest identification, behavior, preferences, and calmness will be one of the most powerful tools for personal communications with clients, with Umni, for example. Hotels have to know their guests more detailed and to benefit both parties. On the other hand, hotels must have effective management tool that allows to set and control cleaning schedules, permissions for access control, time tracking, etc. We succeeded to cover all of these important needs and to design them in one solution, especially for hospitality sector. And using our solutions, guests and staff do not need to carry cards or keys or something else. Our system is based on newest technology for identification and recognition via biometrics. And we believe that ensuring the comfort and great experience of all guests during their stay are probably the core service provided by each hotel. And maybe something interesting, we're almost done with very specific features like online checking, contactless accommodation, at the reception, online request for hotel services via smartphone, etc.
Thank you very much, Martin. You scratched the surface. I'm sure you have a lot more to share, but thank you for being cautious of time, and thank you to all our participants for staying with us, although we are way beyond the time limit that we promised. We are the only thing keeping our participants from lunch. So now Dejan just texted me that he has some very important news to share for about half a minute. So Dejan, take the floor very quickly, and then we can take a couple of questions, and I can promise all the participants that the questions we wouldn't be able to cover today will be covered by our panelists in writing or in a personal conversation with you following the webinar.
Thank you very much, Desi. What I wanted to share with everyone, because we were speaking so much about innovations, that we were able to create a new website for less than 2 weeks' time. And on this website, we are pointing out to the new health and safety guest welcome protocols according to the new international COVID-19 requirements. And we are presenting several new services that we launched because of the new international requirements and local requirements for COVID-19. If you want to find out more about our all safe label with our health and safety measures, you can visit us on hotel.novotelsofia.bg. And some of the new services are open air meeting rooms and free food delivery to the business area around Novotel Sofia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dejan. Talking about innovations, that was a good illustration of that. Joro, can we move to the first questions? Maybe we can cover at least the first couple of questions. The first one is towards our innovations panel participants. Can you share some examples of hotels that have already implemented the innovations discussed in the second part? Maybe we can start with Martin.
Yes, of course. In past 18 months, maybe, we keep 3 hotels in Spain and 1 hotel in Bulgaria. Its name is Sunel Club Odessos, and it is situated in Golden Sands. We are already have signed a contract with 4 new hotels in Bulgaria who are eager to use our system for the next season.
Thank you so much. Ageni, can you share some of your clients who are already thinking about installing these beauties, or you have already installed them somewhere?
No, that's it. We just, as I said, this product's been, and I'm sure that the audience know how long does it take to invent and to develop a product. So it's a brand new. In fact, really the first prototypes are out and they will be shown, as I said, next Tuesday. But we're so happy that some of our partner hotels we've been working in Bulgaria, we're just finalizing the first hotel who's going to be brave enough to test all this technology in its room. But a very good news and brand news from England, I just got, as Dejan said, I also have some really interesting news, and I'm happy they came now, is that we've been invited to present the product. My project manager, who is just watching us now, texted me. We've been invited to participate at the biggest hospitality event in UK, which is called Sleep and Eat event. I'm sure the hospitality industry knows it, in London, to present this technology with our new design room at this event at the end of the year, presumably November. So I'm so happy that there is an interest, and the first reaction are extremely positive. Also, some of our German hotels, we were working with a group for the last 15 years, and we are usually furnishing 10, 12 hotels per year in this group. They also show an interest. So fingers crossed that it could be a Bulgarian product we can introduce to the hospitality industry outside Bulgaria. So keep fingers crossed for us, please.
Fingers crossed. Eli?
Okay. Okay, so chatbots, as I said, is not a new technology. It's new in Bulgaria. We introduced it the past 3 years. So if we talk about international samples, they're from hotel chains, online tour operators, and restaurant chains up to airlines. And just to name a few international names, that Hyatt, Marriott, Radisson Blu, Edwardian Hotels, Accor Hotels, Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. In Bulgaria, among our hotel customers are Spa Hotel Strimon Garden in Kyustendil, Spa Hotel Belchin, Kamengrad Hotel and Spa in Panaguriște, Earth and People Spa Hotel here in Sofia, Park Hotel Breeze at the beach, Red House Guest House in Koprivčica, and several others, just to mention a few.
Thank you. It seems there are a lot of brave innovators in the hospitality industry. Can we see the next question, please? Yes, government programs. There was a question following this one that was not only for the vendors to the hospitality industry, but also to the hospitality industry itself. So maybe, Adi, could you touch about the hospitality industry? And then Eli, if you could share with our guests what you know about programs supporting vendors.
So actually, it's nothing which is specific to the tourism industry, besides the measures that we all know, like 60-40 to become 80-20. There are specific rules and conditions that you need to comply with. But there are still programs running for the European funds for innovations and competitiveness. Maybe I can send the brief file to you, Desi, and you can forward further to the person that asked the question. But on the website of the Ministry of Economy, you can get all the details as well. Nothing specific really for the time being for suppliers for hotel industry besides what we know. We know that some programs are potentially under discussion to be moved for the tourism industry from the European programs that are running so far. However, it's still under discussion and nothing is official yet.
Thank you, Adi. Eli?
Yeah, I totally agree with Adriana. There is nothing specifically designed to help the vendors in tourism industry. As a vendor in hospitality, for us apply all the same measures as for all other businesses like 60-40, different grants and others. However, there are some very interesting initiatives that have been in discussion in the industry, and I truly hope they will be completed as proposals and will reach the government and become a reality. One of such initiatives is the offering of IT vouchers up to 20,000 level, which hotels and other tourism businesses could use for IT services that would speed up the digitalization and automation and the property and the businesses. So I truly believe and hope that the power of change is in the hands of the industry, and there should be a little bit more pressure from the side of hotel industry to have such wonderful initiatives become a reality.
Thank you very much, Eli. I suggest we take the next question and we wrap up with that. How do you imagine the future of travel and guided tours? Who would like to take this one?
Yeah, maybe I will continue.
Go ahead.
As you mentioned, I really love futurology, so that's a passion of mine. I'll start backwards because the question finished with guided tours and with the tour guides, and we saw some demonstration recently from them. We saw just in 3 months, hundreds of museums, galleries, and other sightseeing places offering video and virtual reality tours for free online. I believe this will remain as an offer, but it cannot be personalized yet. So here I see an opportunity for the tour guides. One of the trends I notice already gaining interest online are classes, certifications, and offerings for virtual tour guides. These are not mobile applications. These are people who use live streaming video, virtual reality, and other technology to give a tour in real time online instead of in person offline. There are also companies that already hire such virtual guides and pay the pays from 25 to 45 hours, $45 per hour. I believe this trend will become mainstream because in the future, the travel restrictions may keep coming and going. Customers' budget may shrink, but their desire to travel will not shrink, actually will be hotter and hotter. So people will be more comfortable with digital travel solutions and different kinds of digital and virtual experience. which will become a way for both guides and customers who wants to visit a place today online and maybe someday in the future in person. They can meet today and have an unforgettable experience. This will also open the door to other type of customers that are not existing now. Let's say a school class is learning about Renaissance and the teacher wants to show the kids buildings, galleries, sculptures that are influenced by the Renaissance. A tour guide can take all the class live, but online through these places, and tell them a story that really they will remember as kids. As for travel, I believe personally that travel in person will be related more and more to positive emotions, nature, wellness, and well-being, and it will be strongly customer-centric, so strongly personalized. I think this is the trend that we'll see the next 24 months. As for the business and other purpose-driven trips, means that you go somewhere with the business goal or other goal, you go to finish some kind of a job trip. I think that these kind of trips will be seriously disrupted by video call platforms and virtual meeting rooms in the next couple of years, and little bit further with the spread of 5G with other virtually delivered live streamed experiences, such as the robot avatars that are now under development by the Japanese airlines and ANA. These are some trends that the hospitality need to watch up in the next 3 to 5 years and be capable to adapt to them fast.
Thank you very much, Eli. I think this is a really good note to finish today's webinar. If I can just say a few words that for me were the takeaways from today: trust, perception of safety, clean is the new green, choose Bulgaria for your summer vacation, and digitalization and innovation is the key to the development of the hospitality industry. So you will be seeing a lot of it coming up. And for myself personally, I feel better after today's webinar and safer planning my future travel in short term and also long term, knowing that we're in good hands. So thank you very much. Again, apologies for going much beyond the time that we initially promised, but as we saw, the topic is quite lengthy and complex, and there are a lot of new developments we will see in the next months, and we will be happy to follow up on them. We will follow up with an invitation from Ligna about the presentation of their new product on the 24th of June, 23rd? Yes, 23rd of June. And you will also receive an invitation from us, the British Bulgarian Business Association, for our first offline events for the past 3 months on July 2nd. We are preparing this invitation and we are looking forward to seeing you. Maybe we will not hug and kiss, but at least we will see each other and have a nice glass of wine and beer at the networking event. We've been missing social contact so much. So looking forward to seeing all of you. Thank you very much to all our panelists for the preparation, and huge thank you to all our participants for taking 2 hours of your day to stay with us and to learn about the future of hospitality and travel. And we promise all the questions that we received prior and during the webinar, we will be answering through our panelists in the next days. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.